U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a flurry of trade activity ahead of the midnight deadline to reach a trade deal. And if a deal isn't reached, 35% tariffs could hit a number of goods in this country. And joining me now to talk more about everything at play as the clock ticks down is Moshe Lander, economics professor at Concordia University. Moshe, good to speak with you.
You set the bar there low. We're going to talk about everything, right?
That's right. Yesterday, because there is a lot has happened even in just the last couple days. Yesterday, Trump ended a tariff loophole allowing low-cost goods to be imported into the U.S. duty-free, and also announced a 50% tariff on copper. Any idea what kind of impact that will have?
The impact will show up months, if not years from now. And that's the important thing to keep in mind. We just got GDP data today that showed that the economy shrank by 0.1 of a percentage point in May. And so the worst thing that can happen now is for Canadians to shrug and say, well, I guess these tariffs aren't doing a lot of damage. When you're trying to move the ship of state around, it's like moving one of these huge luxury liners, and it doesn't happen that quickly. So we're going to see that the longer that this uncertainty remains, even if the tariffs eventually go away, the damage is probably being done and accumulating in that it's going to take time for people to realize that, we don't have as many goods available to us, the prices are higher, businesses are scaling back, jobs are being lost, and the same thing, of course, is going to happen on the other side of the border as well.
All right, the sooner a deal gets done, the better then, sounds like it. Does Canada have any leverage in these trade negotiations?
Not much. And you've seen that even though we have probably the most ideal prime minister to be negotiating this, he does have an economics background and he is a former successful head of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. So he really does understand economics. The problem is that Canada doesn't have a lot of leverage here, in part because you're dealing with a crazy person and it's really hard to negotiate crazy. But the other part of it is that where Trump says that the U.S. doesn't need Canada, he's completely wrong. But the thing is that Canada needs the U.S. more than the U.S. needs Canada. And so within those negotiations, he realizes that because he's calling the shot and because he has the leverage, he can do whatever damage he wants. And while it will hurt the U.S. economy, remember that when we're trading $500 billion in each direction of goods and services, their economy is 12 times larger than ours. So that number is much less consequential than it is to us.
Is there an ideal solution that can benefit both sides, other than CUSMA, which at this point looks like it's off the table?
Well, then it's how close can we get to CUSMA? That's the whole thing, is that over the last 90 years, what countries have been doing is moving towards deeper economic integration, more economic interdependence, less quotas, less tariffs, because the economics textbooks at the intro level have it soundly correct. Trade benefits both countries. Now, the gains might not be evenly spread among the two sides or among the people within the countries, but if we're going to address any sort of social issues or environmental issues, the most important thing is to have as much free trade as possible. And so if we're going to move away from that, then let's move the least amount necessary and hope that at some point in the future, somebody's going to realize that, yeah, there is still damage that's being done, and it's a quick jump back to what we had just 6 months ago.
Now, the Bank of Canada held its interest rate yesterday for the third straight time. Is that the right move, given the uncertainty Canadians are facing right now?
Absolutely the right move. And I have a feeling that we might see the same thing happen in September as well. I know Canadians are itching because they want lower interest rates, especially with so many people having to renegotiate their mortgages over the last couple of months of this year and into 2026. But the important thing to recognize is that the tariffs are showing a little bit of damage already to the Canadian economy. Yes, the economy is shrinking. That would necessitate an interest rate cut. But core inflation, the part that strips out the volatile food and energy prices, is actually starting to creep up towards the upper end of the Bank of Canada's comfort zone. That would actually necessitate an increase in interest rates. So right now what the Bank of Canada is doing is trying to walk that fine line in the middle, saying can't increase them, but we can't decrease them either until we get a clear picture of which of these forces is winning out. Let's just kick it down the line, and we'll meet again in 6 weeks and discuss it after Labor Day.
Should be an interesting evening watching this all play out. Moshe, I want to thank you for weighing in. Always great to hear your thoughts.
Anytime.